Hello everyone, it is April, spring is here, and today we are going to be talking about some April releases for fantasy and romantasy, and I'm just so excited for it. So let's just go ahead and get started with this thing. So per usual, I'm going to be starting from the books from the beginning of the month all the way towards the end of the month. So let's just go ahead and get started with our very first one, which is Dragon Rider by Turan Matharu. And this is you guessed it, a fantasy about dragons. And in this one we follow a boy who is an orphan named Jai. And Jai is made an orphan after his father tried to lead a rebellion and ended up being executed by the emperor, and so now he lives in this constant state of being an orphan and obviously probably getting mistreated since his father literally was the son of the rebellion, which reminds me a lot of Xaden in Fourth Wing. And then we have this princess who is now betrothed to another empire named the Dansk Empire, I believe, and with them they bring dragon and dragon eggs, and Jai takes this opportunity to steal a dragon egg as well as a handmaiden from that opposing rival, well, now allied kingdom, and he ends up stealing a dragon egg and this handmaid, and so now they are being like hunted down and they are on the run, but he really wants to raise this dragon to basically fight for him and for him to finally get his revenge that he feels is rightfully his. This one comes out on April 2nd, and I am very excited for this one. It's been on my radar since like before 2024, like in December when I found out about it. I was like, oh yeah, this one's like Fourth Wing, but with more fantasy based and like action based, it seems like, and less romance. So I'm excited for this one. The next book comes out on April 2nd as well, and it is called Play of Shadows by Sebastian de Castel, and this is about our main character named Damelas, and Damelas is basically like a duel fighter. He likes to fight, he likes to duel, but he ends up escaping this duelist named the Vixen and running away from them and basically trying to hide amongst this like group of traveling actors and pretend to be a traveling actor, and he finds himself running away with them, and he is also with a companion that also is a duelist named Barreto, who he finds is very distracting because they're beautiful, and he ends up hearing this voice in his head that leads him to blurt out this huge accusation that basically the city's most legendary hero is a traitor and a murderer, and pretty soon the whole group of them are on the run, and he doesn't know if this like lovely person, Barreto, is on his side or is actually an enemy, and he's just very careful about who he can trust, and he's just on the run from this whole duelist thing that's going on. And this one seems a little bit confusing, to be honest. The synopsis was a little all over the place for me, so I don't know if I'm going to be picking this up, but I do like the cover. The next book that we're going to talk about is The Monstress Misses Mai by Van Huang. This is a historical fantasy that takes place in the 1950s, and we are following our main character named Cordelia Mai Yin, who is a aspiring fashion designer and a first-generation child of Vietnamese immigrants. So when she comes to the States, she basically is having a hard time making a living wage. So she decides to roommate with 3 other girls that actually share the same middle name as her as well, and so soon they realize how difficult it is to even make a livable wage, and so a charming acquaintance of the landlord's actually offers them an opportunity to have any wish that they want come true with a small little price, and the girls find this awesome and they're like, okay, we will take this wish. But pretty soon they get addicted to these wishes, and as these wishes get bigger, so do their sacrifices. And how deeply are you willing to go to get everything that you want, and what are you willing to sacrifice is basically the point of the story, it seems. This one seems really good. I haven't really read too much historical fiction in my life that I enjoyed, but I did read The Hacienda, which is a historical horror novel that I found myself liking, so I might give this one a try, but let me know if you guys are going to be giving this one a try as well. And in case I haven't said it, this one comes out April 2nd. The next one is a fantasy horror book, and it is called Someone You Can Build a Nest In by John Wiswell, and I love this cover so much. And this synopsis I want to read to you directly from what I see here on Goodreads because I just feel like it's written so interesting, and I don't want to like summarize it and take away from the perfection that was the synopsis. And so it says, Shishi Shin has made the fatal mistake to all monsters. She has fallen in love. Shishi Shin is a shapeshifter who happily resides as an amorphous lump at the bottom of a ruined manor. When her rest is interrupted by hunters intent on murdering her. She constructs a body from the remains of past meals, a metal chain for backbone, borrowed bones for limbs, and a bear trap as an extra mouth. What? That sounds freaky. However, the hunters chase Shishi Shin out of her home and off a cliff. Badly hurt, she's found and nursed back to health by Homily, a warm-hearted human who has mistaken Shishi Shin as a fellow human. Homily is nurturing and kind and would make an excellent co-parent, an ideal place to lay Shishi Shin's eggs so their young could devour Homily from the inside out. But as they grow close, she realizes humans don't think about love that way. Shishi Shin hates keeping her identity a secret from Homily, but just as she's about to confess, Homily reveals why she's in the area. She's hunting a shape-shifting monster that supposedly cursed her family. Has Shishi Shin seen it anywhere? Eating her girlfriend isn't an option. Shishi Shin didn't curse anyone, but to give herself and Homily a chance at happiness, she has to figure out why Homily's twisted family thinks she did. As the hunt for the monster becomes increasingly deadly, Shishi Shin must unearth the truth quickly, as soon both of their lives will be at risk. And the bigger the challenge remains, surviving her toxic in-laws long enough to learn to build a life with, rather than in, the love of her life. And this is a sapphic fantasy romance, and it looks so good. It looks so good. Like, I don't know what it is about it. Maybe it's like the cover. It sort of reminds me of Assassination Classroom for some reason. I don't know why. But it looks so good, and I'm definitely going to be picking this one up as well. We cannot have a fantasy new releases without mentioning The Familiar by Leigh Bardugo, which is a high adult fantasy by Leigh Bardugo. And then this one we follow our main character Lucia, and Lucia is basically like a servant, and she tries to not use her magic until she is forced to do something bad for this like family, and then she decides that I don't know if she runs away, and she's forced to use her magic one day to do something horrific, and she just can't stand doing it. And so now she's on survival mode. And then in the other side, we are following the disgraced secretary of the king, and the king just lost this war, and the secretary is trying to will stop at nothing to try to get an advantage of the war so that the king wins, and he won't be he won't be seen as like a bad guy or a disgraced guy to the king anymore. And so Lucia is aware of this, and she is trying to do anything that she can to survive, because all these people obviously want her for her powers, and magic is obviously very dangerous in this world. So she decides to make a deal with this very dangerous immortal familiar who might have secrets that might be even more damaging to both her and this immortal himself. And this one looks very interesting. Again, another historical fiction fantasy. That seems to be the theme that's been happening here. More and more fantasy is becoming historical fiction mixed with historical fiction, because that seems to be, I don't know, people seem to like it. The last one comes out on April 9th, and this is a historical fiction fantasy as well. And this one we follow our main character Jean, and Jean is awakened in the middle of the night by some horrifying cries outside of her outside of her house, and she tries to ignore it at first, but then another cry and a wail happens, and Jean goes outside to find that there's a woman that is in labor right there, left alone, and Jean, being the only midwife for miles and miles around, ends up helping this woman deliver her children. And she doesn't know who this woman is or where she's from, and so she calls around and she believes that it might be the new neighbor named Tobias's wife, who in fact went into labor, and in fact it is. Tobias comes and she realizes that this wife ends up shrieking and terrified, and she just changes her demeanor when her husband's around, and Jean wants to get to the bottom of it. But the more that Jean tries to investigate what is going on, the more danger her and this woman is in. And it is a retake on this classic story called The Selkie Wife, so I believe she's going to be a Selkie, I'm assuming, and that's where the fantasy elements come in. This one didn't really catch my attention as much, but I did want to put this one in here as well because Selkies might be your thing, and Selkies might be my thing too, but I don't know, this one doesn't catch my attention. This is also a sapphic romance, so I should put that. That's interesting. The synopsis though isn't enough to sell me, so let me know what you guys think. Anyways, that is all, you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video as much as I enjoyed making. Oh, and this one comes out on April 9th. Anyways, you guys, that is all. I hope you guys enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed making it. As if you haven't yet, please hit that subscribe button, turn on that notification bell to be notified when I post. And yes, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!